House 2, The Second Story is a 1987 American comedy horror film directed by Ethan Wiley, starring Ari Gross, Jonathan Stark, Royal Dano, Lar Park Lincoln, John Ratzenberger, and Bill Maher.
Last year, audiences everywhere thrilled to a terrifying film about the horrors of home ownership. House. Now, there's an all-new house.
It's like you got some kind of alternate universe in there or something.
With brand new owners.
Charlie. Huh? Got it.
And it's getting weirder.
Look! It's a prehistoric bird!
I got you, Jeff! I've seen enough tragedy and disaster to make you want to upchuck in your shorts.
Two friends inherit a fantastic house.
Charlie, there's a jungle in there.
And a 170-year-old mummy.
Surprise! Who is this? You can call me Gramps.
Now, they're in for more trouble than they ever imagined.
You're gonna kick the door open, run in there blindly, and I'll cover you, okay?
Guy with the big gun goes first.
House 2, The Second Story.
This place gives me the creeps.
Welcome back to the Cult of Films. We're talking about House 2, 1987. Coleman, I think I asked us to talk about the wrong film. I had quite an affection for House, and for whatever reason, I grew up thinking that House was House 2. Nevertheless, I was thoroughly entertained by whatever this was. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, thanks. I was extremely disappointed by the fact that Kid and Play were not in this movie.
Let's jump right into our special guests. I have a Virtual Future from Modern Times. It's a West Coast IPA. I'm going to tie this in by saying that if you're going to go tour a house in the age of COVID, then you're going to take a virtual tour. So that hopefully is one day in my virtual future. That's my tie-in for my beer to this this film. Because you know what? Nothing makes sense anyways. Nothing matters in House 2. So that's how my beer works, just like the plot of this film does.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Do you have a special guest tonight?
I do. First, let me prepare for the rest of this podcast.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. He's in his pocket, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God!
You know, after watching this and seeing what this was all about, I really needed to do this podcast up. So,
Wow.
Coleman Yeti in the house.
Oh, my God.
This evening, I'm drinking Mystic Mojo by Silver City.
Oh.
Because there was a whole lot of Mystic Mojo in this movie.
There sure was. Wow, look at that. You are just adorable. Well, I'll say L'chaim, sir.
Cheers.
Let's talk about this film. This is the first installment of a 4-part series, but technically it says that 1 and 2 are the only ones that are connected. However, none of the same plot and none of the same characters or actors are featured in both. So how that means that it's the same film connected in any way, shape, or form, I have no clue. And I think the third film was like a slasher that just to sell more tickets, which was probably a bad marketing mistake because both House and House 2 kind of bombed. They decided to slap it into the extended House universe, like a Cloverfield or something. So a little bit different. So the first House movie is definitely considered a comedy horror, but it's a comedy horror in the way that like the first Evil Dead is, where they are still trying. I was struggling to find anything that would even make people consider this to be connected to a horror movie. This wasn't a horror movie at all.
No, not at all. And I went into it expecting a horror, expecting a cheesy horror, but a horror nonetheless.
Sure.
And there was zero horror elements to this movie.
But it was Indiana Ghost 2 and the Crystal Skull, so
Right.
it had everything, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You want to take a crack at it? What's House 2 about?
It's not really about anything. It's about the guy that moves into into a house. It's his family's old house,
right?
Only to discover that his grandpa had found some crystal skull, over 100 years ago. They didn't know where it was, so they dug his grandpa up and found the skull in the coffin with his grandpa, who is still alive. And then it's just about the hijinks that they go through.
But the grandfather was wearing a Party City style Halloween mask that looked like the crystal skull while he was in the grave?
Right. Well, he just looked like a monster to me because he had the bright red eyes, and they found the skull right next to him immediately. But once he grabbed the grandson, to choke him out, as you would do if you're dead and someone tries to steal your crystal skull, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
That's when they pan to him wearing the mask with the bright red eyes, and he just looked more zombie-ish than once he took the mask off.
Goes from zombie cowboys to Aztec warriors to dinosaurs to caterpillar, bug dogs, and of course, John Ratzenberger as an electrician adventurer. I mean, it was a fever dream, but it was like your two leads were Ari something, who was like the ugliest guy that got like all the girls ever in a movie, and then you had not Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber as the friend. Yeah, he even had the bowl haircut.
Oh yeah, the terrible haircut. I definitely made that comparison in watching it. So yeah, I would say that the cast in this was pretty amazing. It had the main character is that one guy you've seen in a bunch of movies, but you're never quite sure which movies they were.
Mostly in
or
Seinfeld,
what his name was.
Yeah.
It also had that girl that you saw in that one thing that one time. She was in it. And then it had Cliff from Cheers. That was great.
Right. Yeah.
And Bill Maher as himself.
Right.
So A+ casting, and I went back to look at Ari Gross's IMDb page.
Right.
He's been in literally every single movie and or TV show since 1982.
Right.
Like all of them ever made.
Still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, this guy's been in so much stuff, and I had no idea.
I guess Slim Razor or Slim Shady or whatever is like the the bad zombie, which was voiced by the Claw from Inspector Gadget cartoons.
Oh, nice.
No, I don't know if that's true. He just sounded like him.
I mean, just roll with it at this point.
I guess we'll back it up a little bit. Like, it's about a guy in Ari Gross who plays Jesse McLaughlin, and he doesn't even have his buddy there. He like brings his girlfriend because he's inherited the house. And I guess at the start of the movie, we get the closest thing to a horror scene that this movie has to offer, where it's like it's a flashback, and his parents are, for whatever reason, like give the baby away to people, aunts and uncle. It's painted so broadly, it's so hard to follow. A little glimpse of this bad ghost, and he kills Ari's or Jesse's parents. So then it's like, I think 25 years or something. So Ari Gross looks like he's about 45 in this film, but apparently he's only 25. It just shows you, like, it was the whole Scream thing before Scream happened, where you cast 30-year-olds to play high school kids.
Right, to play teenagers. He just kind of always looked like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. I cannot place like what movies I've seen him in. I had to go back and go, was he in this one? Oh no, he wasn't in that one, but he was in this other movie I've seen. He's just in a bunch of stuff. he's just a guy, and in this one, he is meant to be your hunky leading man, because all the girls are either super into him or super upset that he's like cheating on them or whatever. Right. So he goes up to his now house that he's inherited with his girlfriend, and then not Jim Carrey and his girlfriend crash the party, and then that's where the hilarity ensues. But these two characters,
it's like they stumbled off of like Porky's. Like these two guys were supposed to be in a boner comedy. And they just like got drunk and they found their way onto a horror movie set, and they were just like, they fucked up the entire movie, because even Gramps, your other like zombie character, is like sitting there like stealing cars and drinking with not Jim Carrey the whole time.
Well, I noticed there was like zero cussing in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was such a tame movie.
Was there even blood?
For what I expected.
I don't think there was blood in this.
A little, but not really. I mean, the guy was dead, so there's no blood when he blew off Slim's head.
I mean, it is a cult film. There are people, I dug a little bit into it, and there are people that do love this movie. And I'm not saying it's terrible. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained. There's one thing about this film is I was never bored. I was never ever like checking the runtime, just like, oh my God, when's this over? Because if I didn't like the movie that it was being at that moment, it was a totally different movie 15 seconds later, every 15 seconds. So
right. Was this the one that you said got a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes?
This is a 9%er.
9%. I don't think that it got its due.
Right. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the movie. I mean, it's terrible. Everything about it is awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's written by, I don't know, probably a kindergartner. At least that's the way that the conversation worked throughout the movie. But it was extremely entertaining.
Yeah, Fred Dekker wrote this film. Fred Dekker is actually the biggest name person attached to this, because he was the one that did Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. So he had some really good stuff that he did later on. And I think that, like you said, at least this had imagination behind it. Because at one point it turns into like a Jim Henson, like they try to do Jim Henson things.
Oh yeah,
a caterpillar dog or whatever, which was really cool. You had a like some of the scenes. And not all of them. Like, some of the sets were literally just like, they'd walk out of the house and then they'd be in the jungle. But it just, they put a lamp outside. And I'm like, oh, this is not even trying. But then, like,
right.
You have that one part when they're, like, walking outside and you see, like, a beautiful matte painting in the back. And you see, like, a stop-motion dinosaur that didn't look like terrible, actually. Like, when he climbs the tree to get the baby pterodactyl and stuff. Like, all that looked cool. Like, so it was like, it was half-baked. Like, half of this movie looked really cool and half of it looked like it was done in 30 minutes.
Well, I did like in the jungle scene where they had the pterodactyl, and it was the stop motion, and it looked exactly like the old school stop motion, like the 50s or 60s dinosaur movies, where they just had that claymation and it had that same really shitty look to it.
It looked like Jason and the Argonauts.
I've never seen that, but okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Or like, the Odyssey or whatever, or like Perseus or whatever. Those like old style 50s attempts at claymation, with the giant scorpions and shit.
Right.
And there's a part where Slim Shady is on this like really cool looking undead horse, but the green screen looks so bad and so shitty. I'm like, oh man, that creature looks amazing, but just the screen makes me want to throw up with how bad it looks.
There's lots and lots of notes, just paying attention to all the little details, and there was just so much going on. The fact that he has this girlfriend he moves in with, she thinks that he cheated. He's never really concerned with the fact that she thinks that. Like, he's never trying to go back and fix the relationship. He's just like, it's not what it looks like. Okay, bye.
Because he was totally trying to look for the chick that he stuffed in the closet to fuck later. Like, it was
right.
He was way more excited that chick in the maid's outfit was there at that surprise party, which was so crazy because like there's no concept of time at all in this film. It all happens in like a day or a night. And they're constantly drinking. They're on a complete bender, and like they finally like settle Gramps down and like tuck him in, and then they go upstairs, and there's this like rager going on.
Yeah, and then not Jim Carrey goes, "Oh yeah, I invited everyone over to your house for a party because it's Halloween. Now we're gonna party, awesome."
Yeah.
And then they start partying, and Gramps comes up, and he starts to party too, and Saw that coming.
I thought he was the worst character ever because they basically, like, they're constantly just having to put this crystal skull back in its, like, place, where you have, like, Mayan and Aztec warriors taking it all the time. You have the, you know, Slim Shady trying to get it, and Grandpa Joe is no help at all. He gets his ass kicked constantly. He's a fucking freeloader. He just wants to sit on his ass and have them deliver him beer. He's the fucking worst character ever. And then, like, when Jesse survives at the end, he's just like, oh, I thought you were gonna get your ass kicked. And he took, like, one shot to the undead gut, where it took how many bullets blowing off the face of Slim Shady? I'm like, God, Grandpa Joe sucks.
And a 170-year-old mummy.
Surprise! Who is this? You can call me Gramps.
Well, because Grandpa Joe's still alive. And what I don't understand is how come he was dead, essentially in his casket for 70 years, but then came back to life the moment they dug him up. And I thought he was dead, but really he was just really old the whole time.
I guess, like, how come he got screwed and the other one got all these special powers? Like the one that lost, because I guess the thing is like Jesse and Slim Shady were stagecoach robbers or adventurers, and they were partners, and then they had a falling out, and then Jesse, like a dick, Grandpa Joe, winds up killing his friend, and I'm just like, oh, why are we rooting for him? Because, like, Slim Shady, he's dead, but now he has these special powers. He could get into mirrors. He could jump out of salads. Like, it's just, like, amazing what this fucking guy can do. And Grandpa Joe takes one shot to the gut, and he's, like, done.
Right.
And it breaks its own, the movie breaks its own movie logic, where it's just like, you know, Jesse brings back, he's like, here, I got the skull, you don't have to die again, like I just fucking did this 8 times. And then Grandpa Joe's like, no, that ain't gonna matter anymore. And then he just fucking dies. I'm like, wait, what?
When like 20 minutes before he says, I don't want to die, I can't die.
Exactly. I mean, you got to, I'm not taking anything away from Royal Dano. Royal Dano's the shit, and he was great. His performance was a lot of fun. I mean, he was like this cool old prospector guy, but just the way that character was written, I'm like, man, I was just hoping that Jim Carrey was going to take a Uzi to Grandpa Joe halfway in.
Oh yeah, the Uzi. Let's discuss the Uzi that he randomly had in the back of his car.
Right. Just in case. Yeah.
Right. Just in case you ever need a automatic weapon. Let me just run out to my 1986 Spider where I keep crashing into stuff, but I talk about it like it's the shit.
Just in case Bill Maher shows up, because he did. And he was a dick. He just played.
He was right.
Man.
He was the dickhead record exec. Really didn't seem much different from Bill Maher's regular personality. Essentially, he played himself.
Right, yeah. Totally.
I think the difference was Slim was brought back from the dead, which it seems like every time you put the damn skull down, it awakens some new evil.
Right, yeah.
But Slim was dead, and I think Grandpa is supposed to be alive. Like, actually alive.
I guess. I mean, he didn't have, like, fingers. Or they were all, like, you know, like the bones were coming out. And he's like, let's get down to the thing and go two-stepping. And then, like, he's like, oh, never mind, I'm so old. And I'm like 190 years old. And then, like, the next scene, there was that party, and he's trying to, like creep on some fucking, like, 20-year-old. I'm like, oh, my God.
He's getting his Mac on.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you know, the Ultimate Warrior came and fucked that all up.
The caveman with a sword.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that cavemen all had swords.
Totally.
In prehistoric times.
Yeah, and that was unclear too, because it was like every single thing had different. And I say thing like different like antagonists, I guess, or groups of antagonists had different motivations, I guess, to steal the skull, because Caveman just wanted to bring it back because there was like zero explanation because he didn't say anything. I mean, he was obviously roided out, and you don't want to take roids in the 80s. I mean, you know, they weren't as sophisticated as now.
Right.
But then the Aztecs were kind of clear about it because they were using it for a human sacrifice ritual, I assume. And then Slim Shady just wanted it because they had the history. But yeah, I was really confused why the caveman even wanted it.
I don't know. That was pretty unclear. Like you said, with the Aztecs, it was some part of their ritual. And there was a lot of really good, just cheesy one-liners in here.
Mm-hmm.
Just that really shitty 80s dialogue. I mean, this felt like a Police Academy or Weekend at Bernie's of horror movies.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, when he sees the house, he just makes this stupid joke. He's like, "It's definitely not up to code."
Yeah.
And then when it, like, in the virgin scene, not Jim Carrey
Right.
asks, "Do you think that's a virgin? Because I've never seen one before."
Such a weird line.
And also with just the whole relationship thing, he showed up with a singer girl like they were going out together.
Right.
And then she just disappears and he doesn't care.
Didn't Bill Maher leave with both girls? Because
Bill Maher did leave with both girls because he was giving one a record deal and he was stealing Jesse's girlfriend that was all doped up on Valium, which another great part of this movie. He goes, "Can I get you anything?" She screams, "Valium!"
Yeah. How 80s.
Which is a very 80s thing to say. Get me some Valium.
Yeah. All the female characters in this, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be your end girl. Like in a normal horror movie, you always have that, you know, the end girl, the one that makes it to the very end, whether she survives the entire film or not. She's the one. She's kind of like the POV that carries you through it. And I thought, I'm like, okay, at least they're gonna be pairing Jesse up with one of them. Little did I know it was going to be with the Aztec virgin.
Right.
That was introduced.
Who doesn't speak.
Yeah, that was introduced in the movie 10 minutes before the credits rolled.
Right. But nobody died in this movie.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can consider it a horror at all. It's just a straight comedy.
Adventure?
Yeah. You could call it that because you had Bill the Adventurer with a sword in his toolbox.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cliffy.
Zero context. The context was he had a business card.
Right. That said he was an adventurer.
Yeah.
But it was pretty great when they're like, "Is Bill coming?" And they come out and he already got out somehow.
He's fixing a lamp. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I didn't think you guys were going to make it, or whatever a John Ratzenberger impression would be. Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that John Ratzenberger looks as old as he did then as he does now, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's just been old forever.
The same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has got to be close to the Cheers days, too. This is around the time he was Cliff.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about just what this movie did right. I thought, I already kind of mentioned the sets, but I just like the aspect of them going in and out and the environment always changing. Like, I thought it was cool. It was almost like it was very Jumanji-esque, where it was like, oh, okay, we have to follow a caveman, so now this room turns into a prehistoric scene, and then, you know, when it's the Aztec thing, and or even the Old West shootout, you know, soundstage that they used, literally was probably just like a tiny little soundstage on the Paramount backlot. But I thought it was cool because, you know, Jesse would like go in and out. It wasn't just like, oh, he was in this universe, then he turned around and then, you know, it's gone. I feel like other movies would have done that. So they always found a way to incorporate the house and make the house itself a character, which I thought was a cool choice.
Right. And I'm going to... Sorry, I have to go back to the John Ratzenberger thing, because he accidentally tears the hole in the wall and goes, "Oh, looks like there's an alternate universe in there."
Right.
It's no big deal. I've seen this before.
Right. And I was like smashing my hand against my face and trying to knock myself out by rolling my eyes so hard when the cop showed up out of nowhere because they heard gunshots, but they just automatically assumed that Jesse was doing something even though he owns the house. So, right. You know, this guy is in his own house. They hear gunshots, so the cops show up and they're like, "Jesse, come out or we're gonna blow you away." And it's just like, wait, what?
Right.
Someone's shooting in this guy's house.
And none of the cops ever actually go look to see what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
They just keep sitting out there and saying, "Hold your fire, hold your fire, hold your fire," but not checking out the situation, just letting whatever's happening inside the house happen.
Yeah.
People blow each other away. They don't know that there's a zombie getting his head blown off in there.
Yeah.
And they never do shoot until the only person in the whole movie, I'm pretty sure, that dies, at least live person, outside of Gramps, who dies because he's a million.
Yeah.
Is the police chief.
No,
and they
he
shoot up
survived.
the police chief.
He survived.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah.
So then they started shooting.
Yeah. They're not like, probably home invasion or something. Nope. Just, Jesse, come out. This is your last warning. We're going to blow you away.
There's a crazy man in there.
Who did he think he was shooting at? Like,
oh, yeah. The girlfriend, maybe?
I guess.
Which
maybe,
you think that they would rush in to stop him.
Maybe Bill Maher sent an anonymous tip.
That could be.
Or maybe
should
he's
have
like,
shot Bill Maher.
Oh, man, should they have ever shot the mullet right off his stupid head? Yeah, it was. He was insufferable. He seems like the kind of guy that would be like, "Hey, I saw your boyfriend kiss another chick," and just he's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Again, in real life.
God,
I could see that.
Total wiener. Would you recommend people go watch House 2?
I would 100% recommend that people go watch this movie. And I feel like, much like Wu-Tang, this movie is for the children.
I would also recommend people go see or watch House 2, and you can bring your children because literally nothing happens. Like, part of it seemed like it was Disney's Dinosaurs, like that weird puppet show from back in the day. You literally had a pterodactyl sitting at the dinner table. So it was a good time for the whole family. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a little darker tone, and it didn't happen.
For the whole family. And at the end, when he gets his caterpillar dog and his baby pterodactyl and his virgin and his
and it's not Jim Carrey.
He goes, "You guys are my new family now."
What are they gonna do? What are they gonna eat? What are they gonna work? Like,
I don't know. They're out in the desert in an alternate universe with a skull. I don't. The universe will provide.
They're gonna eat that fucking caterpillar dog by the night's end. If you like this show, then why don't you go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. You could listen to us on Spotify and iTunes in podcast form. Until next time, I'll leave it up to the Yeti to talk us out here.
Go watch this movie. It's cheesy, it's entertaining, it's great and terrible, and it's everything you could ever hope for and more.
This place gives me the creeps.
Face polish is yours and
I'll
brush
take
it.
care of everything, Dad.